Victor Chukwu is the founder and senior pastor of Peace of God Ministry, centered on building youth and young adults for Christ. He started his work with God at the age of 7, and by the grace of God, he has been following God closely amidst life challenges up to this day. He believes the best life you could live is at the center of God's will and purpose. His passion is to see young people saved by God's grace and empowered for God's use. He's also a gospel musician, physician, and bio-statistician. He's married to Esther and blessed with three children, Shalom, Shiloh, and Salma. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's a pleasure to have Victor on the show. Welcome on the show, Victor.
Thank you so much. Just glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my utmost pleasure to have you on P English Literature.
Great. Same here.
Yeah. So, Victor, I would like to first say that, congratulations on your new release, Making Life-Changing Decision. And I would like to ask you how this book came about. What inspired you to write Making Life-Changing Decisions?
Well, I have been working with young people, youth, young adults for a couple of years now, and I have so much passion in making sure they all find their purpose, okay, in life, especially their God-given purpose in life.
Hmm.
And one thing that I've seen common among young people and even adults is ability to make good decisions. And at a time last year, I looked back at my life, looked at the experiences I've gone through, and I realized that the events happening in my life as a result of decisions that I made many years ago.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe 30 years or 15 years ago, the good and bad decisions. So who I am presently, it's a summary of the consequences of the decisions I've made. And I thought, wow, this would be a good thing to share with people. And another thing that pioneered that vision to write this book is, I was called to give a talk. I think on two several events, occasions, to give a talk on choices, on making decisions, and so this book is like elaborate discussion of some of the points I gave in those seminar presentations.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I love the fact that you mentioned that the decision one take many years ago can affect one's life, determines where you're gonna be. And that's actually very true. More reason
Mhm.
why it's very imperative for us all to take the right decision. That sounds
Mhm.
quite amazing and something everybody needs to know and hear about,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Great.
Now, I also love to ask you, Victor, for readers who haven't read the book yet, and without, of course, giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect picking up making life-changing decisions?
Well, the book is a very systematic and engaging, exciting um, write-up. Is going to take you on a journey. Okay.
Hmm.
I tried to share personal stories to make it very practical. I think this is one book I'm coming out there are some very vulnerable, there's some stories I would not have just written out there like that.
Wow.
But I wrote these, just wanted to be vulnerable and honest because I wanted the readers to get um, real, real world practical advice
Hmm.
on how to make good decisions. Okay, so I'll tell the readers to expect to see some stories. They have those that know me before, when they read this book, they will hear or they will read some stories that they've never heard before. All
Wow.
right. And a reviewer that I sent my book to a reviewer to just look at it, and she came up, she said something very important, that this book at the beginning of the chapter is very simple and clear, and it's going to take you to, at the end of the chapter, you will be at the climax. Okay,
Wow.
so at the beginning of every chapter, it's very simple, very clear definitions, but before the end of the chapter, you will get to the climax of the
Hmm.
topic at each chapter. So I will encourage everyone to read this book.
But that's quite lovely to know it has some first-hand information in there. And now I'm a bit curious. Is it an entirely memoir or it's a memoir that's a blend of self-help team book, stuff like that? I'm just curious.
No, it's actually not just a memo. Yeah, I told my personal stories because I was trying to, illustrate some point on how to make good decisions. And I thought for me to be able to drive out these points clearly,
Hmm.
it would be nice for me to share my personal experiences.
Sure.
But beyond that, I also shared some contemporary examples. I also made a lot of research. I did a lot of research to give out so that my information is evidence-based information. It's not just
Hmm.
my thoughts, So it's a combination of all these just to make sure that the reader gets a robust view on each point that I made.
Oh, that's quite amazing to know. Thanks for shedding more light on that. And now I'd love us to talk about challenges. I'm curious to know if you experienced any challenges while writing the book. If there is any, could you share with us what challenge it is and how you ultimately overcame it?
Yeah, well, time is a challenge, because
Hmm.
I have to work, I have to take care of family, I have other things that I do. So making sure I follow my schedule strictly to keep to my writing schedule. That was a time I couldn't meet up with that. But I had to make sure I stayed with my schedule. That is one. Two, sometimes you're writing. I think there's something they call writer's block. I don't know. You just get to a point. It's like nothing is flowing anymore,
Yeah,
uh, and you're scared. Oh, am I going to be able to finish this book? What am I going to do with this book?
yeah.
Yeah, but it came at a point, and thank God I was able to overcome that. And after everything I've collated my book, I think the other big challenge was with my publisher.
Oh,
I didn't have a very good experience with my publisher.
oh.
But you know, I'm happy it all came out well. We were able to rectify what was wrong and able to get the book published in time and the way I really wanted it to be published.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm thanks to ask you, how long does it take you to write the book?
Well, it depends on the book. This book took me about 6 months to 8 months to write it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, some other books are short, but yeah, it depends. This one took me some some months to write it. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's great. That's great. And getting to know that it's a first book, right? It's quite amazing.
Yeah, this is my second book actually.
Oh, now would you love to
Yeah.
tell us about your first work? I was going to ask you if you've altered anything aside making life
Yeah.
changes decision.
Yeah, my first book was The Spirit That Conquers. And
Wow.
that came out in 2020. I published it in 2020. Now, that book also has its own story. I actually wrote that book more than 15 years ago while I was in
Oh.
school, but I didn't publish it, So it took me almost 12 years for me to go back to my manuscript and like, okay, I think I'm ready to start my journey being an author, So that was
Oh,
my first book, yeah, The Spirit That Conquers. Yeah.
that's amazing. It sounds like a spiritual book.
Yeah, that is a very spiritual book. Very spiritual book. Yeah.
That's great. Now, I also love to ask you, Victor, is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers concerning making life-changing decision that we did not mention at this interview, and you'd love the viewers to know?
Yeah, we'll also refer back to uh, what the independent reviewer said. Sometimes it's better other people speak about your book. I don't just want to people to feel like I'm just trying to sell the
Yeah.
book. And the independent reviewer said something that when she saw the book first and the title, it looked like just one of those motivational books, oh, making life-changing decision. These motivational speakers have come again. But by the time she started reading the book, she was surprised that it was beyond just
Different.
motivation. Yeah, some things that will motivate you, but there are, like I said, there are research-based points, personal stories, contemporary examples, a lot of things, a lot of, how will I say it? There is wisdom, I believe there is wisdom in the pages of that book that will help anyone, whether young or old, trying to make decisions, that will have effect in the long run, in their future. Okay.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I love your thought, and that speaks quite a lot. Now, I also love to ask you, Victor, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book? What would you advise people in this category?
Let's say, if you have not started, start. I mean, it's what you start, you finish. Okay.
Absolutely.
If you don't start, you never finish. So just start. Also advise have a schedule for writing. So do you want to write 30 minutes every day or every week, or have a schedule. It's going to be, it can be a flexible schedule, but at least there's a schedule there, and you can always go back to it when you fall away from your schedule. That will help you to be consistent. And another thing I would just advise writers or authors, just keep doing it. I believe the more you do it, the better you become. So my first book was not this planned out. It was self-published. I didn't use a publisher. I didn't do a lot of marketing. I didn't know about interviews.
Oh,
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know about many things. But I just published. I just did it. So just do it. That's what I would tell authors. Just do it. The more you
let's
do, the
do
more you learn.
it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, I love the advice. Just do it. And I'm hopeful that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it because it's an amazing one.
Yeah.
Now, I'd also love to ask you, in case we have some interested viewers who would love to get a copy of the book, on what platform are they available on for purchase?
They're available on well, most popular common platforms. So Amazon is available in paperback format, hard copy format, ebook, audiobook. It's
Oh,
all there on
wow.
Amazon. If you're in the US, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, most popular platform. And for those in Nigeria, is I made sure we got it on Seller .co. I think is a popular place
Yeah,
for people to be able to buy
absolutely.
the book. So it's also there, and people can buy and read online.
Wow, that's amazing. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Victor Chukwu's books directly on Amazon, on Barnes& and Nobles, on Seller, and other platforms. So thank you so much, Victor, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's wholesome having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you and to be interviewed on this platform.
Absolutely. And